I've been in some scenarios where using my senses alone has helped me fly the airplane, but in those scenarios where that itself is overwhelming enough to where I can't focus on 5 things at once, Foreflight has made my life easier with certain scenarios. Today's video is on these 3 features that are life-saving and will impress your checkride examiner. Let's get into it. I'm Jack, a commercial pilot in CFI. Flying has always been a passion of mine, and I love being able to share that experience as a pilot and instructor for those who are curious about soaring through the sky. I hope you enjoy today's video, that you fasten your seatbelt, and that you enjoy the ride. How's it going, everybody? My name is Jack. I'm a commercial pilot and a flight instructor, and in today's Foreflight video, I'm going to be going through the top 3 life-saving features that has helped me in situations and would help you in some situations you could also run into. I hope you enjoyed today's topic, as these features definitely helped me in those scenarios that I needed a lifeline. So if you do want to know what those are, let's get right into the video. I'm going to kind of rapid fire through these because there's a lot of things to talk about with these, but the 3 that are the most important are going to be the ones I highlight. And the first one that I'm going to highlight is our hazard advisor. This is going to be in the premium subscription, the middle one of Foreflight. So if you don't have it, stick around and listen why I think this is probably one of the most important tools Foreflight has ever made. I was in a scenario where at night I'm flying, and I'm flying in one of the most remote parts of the nation right now. So we're talking about barely any city lights, nothing to see or really worry about with knowing where the ground was until you understood that there was mountains in the way. And when mountains were there, that changed the game with night flying. And if you know terrain that's rising at night and you can't see the ground, you know you are in some serious trouble. I was not worried about hitting terrain because I knew I had the elevation, but in the off chance I had an emergency landing and I needed to know where the terrain was somewhat flat, not necessarily mountainous, I had no idea. I'm just going to be honest. I was screwed in that situation, and most of you are in that case where you have no idea what the ground looks like below you at night. Enter Foreflight. This tool is a game changer for that, because when you click Hazard Advisor, there is 2 parts to this, and you can already see one of them. I'm going to talk about the first part of it first, and then we'll get into the obvious. The first part is going to be on the right side of the screen with this little lever right here, right? In your flight, if you have a Sentry or something hooked up to your GPS with your iPad, it will automatically put you at the elevation that you're at. So for example, if we're flying at, say, 6,000 feet, that is what it will be at. Then what Foreflight will do is it will give you 2 things. It will give you the areas that are red and yellow. Yellow being you're within 1,000 feet of terrain, and red being you're within 100. Obviously, looking at this map in Colorado, you can see it is completely red to the west with those Rockies, right? You're not going to go fly through those at 6,000 feet. Over here, different story, right? It's all flat. You're fine at 6,000 feet. I was up in the north, as you can kind of see in this area here, and I'll kind of talk about more later. It gets nice because it's not that big of a deal at 6,000 feet. Now enter clouds. Enter ceilings at, say, 8,000, 7,000 feet. That's where you can't climb. You have to stay at an altitude. And in this case, the ceilings were at 6,000 feet right here. So we decided, based on which way we were going, we were going to choose around, let's say, 35, maybe 4,000 feet, depending on the headings that we were on. Now you got to look, and you got to see at night here, right? All these mountains and all these terrain areas start to come into play. And you can clearly tell on this sectional that you have the ridge lines on there for all the jagged areas of mountains. But at night, you're not going to see those finer details right away, right? You're just going to see straight up, okay, this is a map. That's all I'm seeing. Let's say I'm flying over in this area at like 3,000 feet right here, right? If I'm flying at like 3,000 feet here, see, now it's turning yellow, right? You're within 1,000 feet of hitting something. I didn't know that I was going to make an emergency landing, and I haven't yet, thank God. But if I did, and it was at night in the worst case scenario where I was the most vulnerable, if it wasn't for this telling me where the terrain was rising, that I would not be more confident as a pilot to know, hey, I'm not relying on my iPad to land. I'm using it as the tool to help me look outside and see what my best options are. Because what you can also do with this scenario is look and see if we're, for example, in this part of New York, I'm picking KELM over there because look at where the terrain is. There's nothing, right? It's not yellow, meaning I have plenty of time to descend and land. Versus if I had to pick like in this area here where ELZ and OLE are, shout out to those airports if you live over there, there's a lot of mountains is what it looks like. So I would be more likely to hit something there than if I was over here. And that's exactly why this hazard advisor is so important. You need this at night if you want a better chance of seeing where you're at. Because I guarantee you, if you had to make that emergency off landing at night and you had to pick a spot to land, you would want to pick where it was not yellow at your altitude because then you know you had more time. It's easy to see it during the day, but at night, you are stuck until you have an idea of what the terrain looks like. And that's what this tool does. The second tool that I'm going to get into, and this is for everyone, doesn't matter what subscription you have with this, is the user waypoints segment, right? I'm going to just bring it up right here. User waypoints. I can't tell you how many times I have not seen people use these. These are so underused. Not many people know what these are going to be used for. And personally, I didn't either as a student pilot. I was like, what are user waypoints for? Like, I have no idea what's going on with these until I realized if I were to stay in this area here, let's say I liked this area, boom, I can click on this little area right here. I can go to the GPS segment of that, click more, and then save. Now you get into an aspect of, ooh, what's this? I can then type my point. Let's say it's a road because we're next to a road. There we go. Road gives you a location. You can write a description if you want. Click done and then save, and look at that. There's your road that you happen to mark. This tool is perfect for your navlog, and it is perfect for any scenario that you need to look for maneuvers. Can't tell you how many times when I was in Maine that we had no real practice areas. We had barely anything we had to find for maneuvers. For example, steep turns, or not steep turns, turns on a point, and S turns. You need to find good ground references for those. And what I did is I made a ton of user waypoints, as you'll see here in a second, for not just maneuver points, but for maneuver points with specific winds. Because if the wind is a bad area, you have to then find a point that matches up with that downwind and upwind. So if I go up north over here, I have all of those user waypoints. And again, I have them all simply because that was where I knew the wind was coming from this direction. I could go to this area and practice. If the wind was coming from that direction, I can go to this area and practice. These waypoints can help you in your check ride scenario where if you know where your maneuvers can be done and can be done proficiently, all you need to do is find that user waypoint and where you're at in the map and boom, fly to it. So underused. I don't see many people using these, so I highly recommend you take 5 minutes of your time before you go fly, figure out where your track logs are typically at and what reference points you're used to, so that you can then just go on here and do what I just did, click this, more, save, and then go ahead and label your waypoint, as this is very clutch for when you need to use your waypoints in navlogs and in your maneuvers for your check ride. Alright, this is my third and last one, and this one is, I feel like, somewhat underused, unless you know what you're doing with it. And when you go back up here and you click these, you're going to just get out of aeronautical, you're going to get out of the sectional here, and you're just going to click street map, or not street map, aero map. I already had it on here, whoops. Let's say I'm going from Lyman, or excuse me, Lick, K-L-I-C, which is Lyman, to K-P-U-B, Pueblo, right? You can look and see, it still has the airport's register on here, even when you type it in, which is great. But let's start with a VFR sectional. Let's just go here. If I were to go look around here and see what I could use for this navlog, I chose this route for 2 reasons. One, you're in the middle of nowhere in Colorado right now. There is not a whole lot going on out in this part, so you automatically have little to no waypoints. And then the second thing is there's no airports, right? Your alternates are kind of screwed. Maybe if you went to Colorado Springs, obviously, but, you know, between you and Lyman and Pueblo, there's really not a whole lot going on. So that's where enter street map, or aerial map. I keep calling it that. Now that I've turned this on, you don't just get you're in the middle of nowhere. You get, hey, there's a lot of crop fields here. Oh, wait, what's this? This is a road. Okay, if I continue to go down here, hey, what are these 2 crop circles there? right? You get now features that you wouldn't be able to see on a VFR sectional. This feature I use all the time with my students and tell them, when you create a navlog, you better use Google Maps, or if you have Foreflight, you better use this feature, because this will allow you to pick waypoints that you not only can use, but can see. That is the big thing, is you must see your waypoints on those VFR navlogs. If your examiner can't see it, he's going to fail you, because he's like, why'd you choose that point? I don't even know what you were looking at for the first part. So by you having this feature, you can then actually look and see, hey, I actually looked on my map and I saw that I could see this from my thing. So when we look, you can see it's in this area because it's right there. And then on top of that, let's say I wanted to use this river as my point, for example. What you can then do is this. You can then click here and look, you can go back to more, click save. Let's call this point river, save. And would you look at that? You have your point that says river. So now if you have Foreflight, you can then use this track to fly to it. And then on top of that, you can actually go here and you can click this and look at that. It actually labels it for you. This is why these features are so important, is in that scenario, just your checkride for now, you need to know where you're going, and all of a sudden you slip up. You're nervous. You're just like, I have no idea what I'm doing or what's going on. You did your homework when you did this, because you can then just look at your iPad and see, okay, that's where I'm going. That's what I'm doing. You don't need to have any more doubt with this. This was what makes it convenient. But in the scenario that I'm going to talk about, I had these points because of life or death. I was in the scenario that I had nothing. Literally nothing. I'm telling you, I had just forest. That was it. Maine, you really had to be up on your survival tools, as I carried a knife and you name everything else camping-wise in my backpack for my flight bag. So I was prepared for anything. But what helped me realize, these waypoints allowed me to not only then see with where my street and aerial maps are telling me to go, in the event I had to make an off landing, I could then know, hey, what's the difference between this lake and then this pond, or this brown area right here, right? Because there is a difference between this lake and this brown area. The difference between both of these is a pond is water, where if you landed, you could swim and be okay. A bog is swamp. It is not covered completely in water. It is marshy, it is rough dirt, and it is places where if you land, you are going to get wet and you are going to have a bad time. You would rather land in the forest next to it than you would land in the bog. And so that's where you have to go and understand that by looking at a street map and seeing where you could be in certain scenarios, this gives you the opportunity to then not only have to worry about any survival kits or any tools, but it also gives you the peace of mind knowing that you looked at your route from more than just one scenario of just that VFR navlog, right? Just that VFR sectional. You have more than one eye with these charts, especially with the street map view. And that's what I tell people all the time. If you think you're questioning your route of flight going there, open this up and tell me what you see. And if you don't like it, you now have physical proof of, hey, I can land there if I had an emergency, or I can go here if I know that I'm going to make it this far, right? That's exactly why these are here, and why Foreflight, in my opinion, has some awesome survival tools. So with that being said, those are my top 3 features that you can not only use for life-saving scenarios, but also impress your examiner with, because it shows you're on top of your stuff, right? If you can use these 3 tools to your advantage, especially on your checkride scenario for just using real-world applications, he's going to be very impressed knowing that you're not only a pilot, but you're also a survival expert because you did your homework, right? That's all I'm teaching is this is allowing you to do your homework, not just to go off of just, hey, this is the 80%, right? You need 80% to pass in the ECS, but if you want to do well, you need to just survive. So that's what I'm teaching with these things. And these are why I use them, because they've helped me survive and become the pilot that I am now. So hope you use them the way that I use them, because they are life-saving and they have helped me so many times in life-saving scenarios. If you have enjoyed and you want to see more Foreflight videos that I'm making, you can go down below and subscribe. Like this video if you like this content. I'm planning on making a lot more, as I've had a lot of positive feedback on these types of videos. And if you do want more content of whatever I'm posting, I also have an Instagram that's linked below. You can go check that out. And then finally, this is where I'm going to talk a little bit. I just launched my study service on my website. It is a study service service that is personalized and customized to your needs, and it is my job to do the research, and it is for your job to sit back and just listen to what I have to say to help you understand any topics that you want. And it could even be Foreflight. If you struggle with Foreflight, let's talk, let's sit down, and let's actually make your Foreflight the way you want to make it, because I might be launching a service like that full time here soon just for Foreflight. But until then, I have 3 sessions that you can go down to my website, check out. If you want to just give it a try, just see what it's like, use code FIRST at your checkout when you go and book a session. That'll give you 50% off. And when you do book that session, you pick any time what you want to do, and you fill out a form for what you're specifically struggling with, so that I can then do all the research that I need to do to then give you all the tools to add it to your toolbox with whatever you're struggling with. If that sounds something you want to do, go down below and check out my website. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. See ya!